Hi, boys and girls. So this week, we're going to learn about fractions for math. Before you watch this video, make sure that you watch the first one, which is a read aloud of the story, Give Me Half. Now, once you've done that, you can watch this one. Now, what is a fraction? Before I tell you, let's take a look at what I wrote here. So I wrote numbers from 1 to 3. I wrote them in word form and in math form. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, what if I wanted to write something like a half or a quarter in math form? How do I do that? Well, you have to use fractions. Well, let's take a look. Here's a circle, and I split it into two equal parts, into halves. Now, each part here, so the shaded part, represents a half. How do I write a half in math form? Well, you have to use a fraction, and this is what it looks like. There's a 1 at the top, a line, and a 2 at the bottom. What does that mean? What does this 2 and 1 represent? Well, the 2 is just the total number of parts, 1 and 2. The 1 is the part that is shaded, okay? So this is half, but you can also read it 1 out of 2. One part out of the 2 total parts in the whole, okay? If this is too confusing, boys and girls, just remember that 1/2 in math form is written like this, with a 1 on top, a line, and 2 at the bottom. So in the story, the sister and brother had to share the pizza equally, okay? 1/2 a pizza and 1/2 a pizza is one whole, or 1/2 plus 1/2 is equal to 1. Now, same thing, 1 cupcake and a 1 cupcake make 2 cupcakes. If you took 1 cupcake out of this bag, out of the 2, you would have taken 1/2, because this one right here is 1/2 of the 2. Does that make sense? Okay, let's move on. What about quarters? 1 quarter, how do I write that? Here's a big rectangle that I split into 4 equal parts. Now this shaded part represents a quarter, or 1 out of 4. Here is how I write a quarter. I write the 1 at the top, a line, and instead of a 2, now I write a 4. Now what do these numbers mean? The 4, again, means the total number of parts, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts in my whole. And the 1 just means the part that I shaded. So this part that I shaded is 1 quarter, or 1 out of a total of 4 parts. 1 out of 4, or 1 quarter. That's how I can read this fraction. If it's confusing, just remember how to write 1 quarter. Now let's review. Here's a whole pizza. If I want to represent a half, I can split the pizza into 2. And here's how I can write 1/2 with 1 at the top, line, 2 at the bottom. Again, the 2 just represents the number of parts in the whole. So there are 2 of them. And the 1 represents that half. This is 1/2, 1 out of the 2 total parts. Okay, same thing with here, same thing, but except that I chose to represent quarters. So I split my pizza into 4 by drawing 2 lines. Each piece, each slice, represents a quarter. Here's how I write a quarter, or also known as 1/4. I write the 4 down here because there are 4 slices, and 1 because I'm representing one of those 4 pieces. Okay, so here's another way I could represent wholes. This is a whole Lego piece. This is another whole that is represented in a different way with 2 half pieces. This is 1/2 and this is 1/2. This is another whole that's represented in a different way using quarter pieces. 1 quarter and 1 quarter plus a quarter and a quarter. So 4 quarters together make a whole. Now what I want you to do for work is to represent a half and a quarter in different ways. You can draw pictures, just like you saw in the pizza slides and the cupcake slides. You can use Legos. You can use blocks. You can use food or any objects at home. For food, you can use things like cookies, for example. Practice cutting things into halves and quarters. If you're going to use a knife at the dinner table or the kitchen, make sure you get your parents' permission. Please, please be careful. I'd rather they